I am back. This is Occupier Kaylin coming to you live from the O'Malley campaign office, where people will be trying to talk to him, to ask him questions, just to get to know him. He is new on the scene. I have not heard of the name before he announced. And so, the typical campaign office layout posters all over. And it isn't as packed in here. Hello.
I'm Kristen.
I'm Kaylin.
Nice to meet you. Who are you? Are you a member of the press?
Yeah, I'm independent. I'm a live streamer.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So I work for my viewers.
Oh, great. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, if someone tries to give me a corporate kick, I say, no, I don't go there. They got the cookie bags. So I'm going to take advantage of that. So pardon the shakiness. Got water bottles here, but I got my tea bottle. Some handmade signs up on the wall. For different groups or parts of the community. This is a labor union one. African Americans for O'Malley, there's another one. There's some more over there.
You were in Ames, weren't you?
Yep.
Right next to you.
Yep.
Between the stick and the over.
Oh, yeah.
I know I just saw you. I stand out too, so it's like.
Yeah, and of course when you're the only Muslim in the room.
Well, you don't know that, but you're the only person wearing it.
Yeah.
Kind of like.
Especially, I stick out with a red one.
No, the only thing I noticed is the stick.
Yeah, and I got another one for my tablet. I got another one for my tablet.
Yeah. Stick that holds your tablet.
Yeah.
That'd be a useful thing, actually, if we're doing these sort of events.
Oh, yeah, it's great for streaming.
You need to get it on Amazon or something?
Yeah, I got it off of eBay.
eBay,
I just ran into another guy who was at the Ames event. So some of those people are here.
I'm Martha. I'm from Albia. I'm Janine Wishman. You came a long way too.
I'm just going to wander back over here to ditch my cookie bag. This guy's using his tablet to take some pictures. I think this time I will stick a little closer towards where he's going to be because I don't think he's going to be using a mic. In the meantime, I'll just pick up conversations here and there. Same thing that happened at Ames is going to be happening here. People asking questions.
Bernie Sanders event?
Yep, I was there. Yep, I was live streaming. Had this thing extended all the way so I could get over people's heads and still try to, pick him up. Because I wasn't as close as I would like to have been, but, I think I got it pretty good.
Yeah, I wound up spending most of the time outside.
Yeah, because I know there are people outside, but...
It was way too crowded in there.
Yeah.
I thought I saw you.
Yep, I was there. Someone else recognized me from the Sanders event. And they got a projection up on the wall. The only white wall, so it's good for projecting on.
What I started seeing when I was in Shaker was that patriarchal families being service
I am, as far as location, I am just south of the downtown area of Des Moines. Went over one of the viaducts that goes over some streets to get here. So it's actually relatively close to a bus stop if I just wanted to take a bus. But I'll probably end up getting a ride from the same people I've been riding with pretty much all day. And O'Malley, who is not well known yet, but I'm sure he'll change that. Some other reporters. There's photographers in here.
But it's also
It's a little different.
So it's a pretty accessible location as far as to get to this office. Not much in here yet because they just opened it up. So I'm still running off of my power pack. So I'm about, since I went live, I'm about half. Oh, I'm about 70-some% juice, so I'm good.
yeah, let's say you're not doing something.
No, Michelle Obama, the great prophet.
I have seen some noise online about her, people saying that she should,
I hope. I love
that
Michelle.
she would actually be better than Barack. But
Really?
well, that's just some of the stuff I've seen
Oh
online.
yeah, no, she'd be a good candidate. That's for sure.
But the question is, does she want to go there, or
That'd be a lot to ask.
They did the,
Yeah.
let's get rid of all this.
some people,
When we move back to Carroll.
some first ladies probably didn't want to have anything to do with politics other than voting. Of course, then there's the Bushes.
That's true. What? You're a press pass anybody with?
I'm an independent. Yeah, I'm a live streamer.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
Yeah, I use I'm using an app called UStream,
Okay.
and some of my viewers will pick up my individual stream and rebroadcast it on a Restream channel on livestream.com.
Okay.
So that widens my audience. See, I may only have 3 viewers right now, but in a rebroadcast channel, I could have maybe like 30 more, or 50 more, 100 more.
Sounds like you got it now, yeah.
And then because I save these, I put up a lot of these on YouTube. Because I have a free account on Ustream, instead of paying for extra storage in their server, I put a lot of them up on YouTube.
Okay, that makes sense. That's good.
And every time I go live, Facebook puts a post up. It gets tweeted. So if someone follows my Twitter handle, StrainSop, StrainSop. They see that. Any of my followers can see when I'm going live.
Gotcha. That's cool.
Of course, I have followers from around the world, so they might not, someone might not be wanting to get up in the middle of the night, say in Japan, to watch. But because I save these and put them up on YouTube, then they can watch it anytime they want. I do protests, and I've gone to the Capitol and streamed in there. The last time I was there was for the Bakken Pipeline hearing.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's up. The bill that affects it is on the eminent domain.
Well, we're actually
Tightening.
from Nebraska.
Yeah, tightening that up.
Yeah.
And so the bill would require 75% voluntary easement signage before eminent domain could be used to get the other 25%. But because what you got in Nebraska, the 90%, that is even better protection for landowners.
Yeah, we saw a really bad deal.
Yeah.
Regardless. I mean, it's
Yeah. But if 90% sign but 10% hold out and fight it till the as far as they can, that it may just cause them to drop the project. It all depends. We're trying to deal with the Bakken Pipeline here.
Yeah. That's any pipeline's bad.
Yeah, especially one like the one that will carry the tar sands. I mean, Mayflower, Arkansas. That should have been a wake-up call. And all the other ones, the trains that explode or derail. Pipelines. It's not a matter of if they're going to leak. It's when and how bad. And how long will a leak be undetected before someone finally sees what's going on? So there's this group called the Bakken Pipeline Resistance Coalition. It's probably about 30 groups in that. So, it's on Facebook. That's BAKKEN. Or you can use the hashtag NoBakken and see all the stuff that's been going on. You can search that on Facebook as well as Twitter.
Okay, yeah, definitely have to check that out.
Yeah. No, I was just informing someone about Bakken Pipeline Resistance, and so he agrees. He's from Nebraska. Had to deal with the KXL there. More people are coming in. There are only a few chairs for people to sit on, but I think I'll just remain standing. We've got a pretty good mix of people in here. Got young and old. There are probably no doubt students in here. But other activists in here, and just a mix of people in here. So again, the hashtag that can be used for this, because I came in here with two of the American Friends Service Committee members. We'll be trying to ask them about the for-profit prisons, especially the immigration detention centers and military-industrial complex, and if they can get off a question about what their stance is, whether they take campaign donations from any entity affiliated with those. That's what will be going on here. And of course, other questions will be asked. This will be a more informal, a meet and greet type of thing. But that's why I put the hashtag GUI on here, so that anyone who wants to know more about the Governing Under the Influence project that American Friends Service Committee and others are involved in, just search that hashtag and see everything that's coming up about that.
I detest her. I looked at Kentucky long enough. Bad Kentucky. I love her, but I wanted Allison. I just know her after blood. Dario but I wanted to
Sure.
Excuse me. My mom had to talk to me. Yeah, I oh, that's and honestly, if you just ask, maybe that's allowed.
Sure. Behind you.
Yeah, I met William. Hey, Caitlin.
Hello. I thought I'd seen someone familiar.
Yeah.
I was the names at the sandwich.
I know. I saw you. But I was working the crowd. I'm working
Yeah.
Democracy Matters, so I had to
Cool.
get pictures.
Yeah. Cool.
This is Kaylin. She live streams everything. Nice to meet you.
Yep.
She and I were in Occupy together.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I
Oh, yeah.
And you're still holding true to what you said a few years ago?
running for president.
Yeah.
Most definitely. I just did orientation for ISU yesterday, and I'm majoring in politics.
Oh, sweet.
And I already have a paid internship, so.
Cool. That's gonna get you started.
Oh yeah. But O'Malley usually does work with the crowd. Sorry. O'Malley works the crowd.
I have partners with up to 6 and friends make 6.
I used to have
I was like, I'm going to tag you in this. Oh, I was going to take a selfie with my just because every time you go home, hair color. Oh, yeah. Okay. Wait. And can you pronounce your name?
Go in that.
Or if you're... Apparently everyone knows. I'm not even really sure who will be the next couple of hours. I didn't even think about my ADHD.
I was having one of the student activists who's part of Occupy Des Moines along with me. She is still wanting to run for president when she gets old enough. So she's majoring in politics. She just did her orientation. So in August she will start her classes. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move over here. That way I can have a clear view, not be in anyone else's way.
Coming back in 40 minutes.
Got a couple guys who will be setting up their tripods for the local channels. So now I can give you a look at there's probably a couple hundred in here.
But I knew he wasn't 75 because I was only
The Ames event, I think there are several hundred there. I couldn't really get a sense of the crowd size
that many years older than me.
because I was in the middle of it. I could not move around much in that place, but this is a lot better. I can get where I should have good audio pickup. So there is some music playing at the moment. It's not all that loud, but just loud enough I can hear it. Sounds like it's coming from the computer that will be running the slideshow or video. So here I'm burning data. I don't think there's Wi-Fi in here, or if it is, it's probably not public access, free Wi-Fi. But that's okay. I conserve my data. I shut my data off. Of course, I have my phone off after left Ames to come here so I could just let it charge, let it cool down, build up some juice. I'm hearing a woman talk about how she had issues with someone having a public access bathroom, but it was not suitable for someone who uses crutches like she does. And that the business owner or manager refused to acknowledge the fact that there is a need to have the rights of the disabled not only honored but respected and enforced. And she's referring to Senator Tom Harkin, who retired at the end of his last term, who started the Americans with Disabilities Act. And I compare that to the Canadians with Disabilities Act that I talked to with my contact up in London, Ontario. who is hoping to get a service dog so that she can have an alert system when she does not have her hearing aids or when her hearing aids crap out on her. A dog that will go with her to alert her of noises that she otherwise might miss. And that she has gone into businesses asking them would they allow a service dog, and they would say no, and then she would remind them about the law. So anyway, that's just a little side note on that. But it looks like, I'm not sure when this is supposed to start. I'm just waiting for more people to get in. The cameras over there are set up. The other photographers are here. Ready to shoot their pictures or hear recordings. And speaking of press, KHOI Radio, KHOIFM.org is where the Ames event was broadcast live, and now you can go to that website and listen to it. They're able to archive that. It's a community-supported radio station, kind of like public radio, but not an affiliate of National Public Radio or American Public Media or any of the other ones like that. They're totally community-based. They do their own programming. They run Democracy Now! Broadcasts it every day on the weekdays. And one of the people that I know who lives in Ames actually works for that radio station. Plus, she's also an activist. So now, since I don't have to raise my monopod up.
You used to ride the bus with us?
Oh, yeah, I am. We're riding the bus where?
On 39th Street, University.
Oh, yeah, I've gone over there.
Okay, I just wanted to say hi, and I'm Elsie Monty, and
yeah,
legally blind, so
yep.
Just wanted to say hi. And
yeah, I'm live streaming.
You are.
Yeah. Yep. And so I have viewers. I do it on my phone. I have a smartphone that allows me to do that. And so anyone in the world can see what I'm doing.
Is that right?
Yeah, I was just in Ames at the Bernie Sanders event.
Oh, good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to. I thought my husband thought you rode the same bus.
Oh yeah. But I ride the 17. So after they changed to get home when I'm done doing whatever I'm doing elsewhere.
Well, I'm glad that we have so many people here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good turnout for our first event.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you for that.
I just shift a little position so that the person I was just talking to could get back to her seat, and the owner of the crutches could move them. Well, another TV camera has arrived, and so is the podium. Well, there will be mics, obviously. I'm going to just making a little angle adjustment. I'm still at the 69% juice. I'm doing good. I'm still plugged into my power pack. So that'll slow down. Hopefully. How much my phone battery gets drained. No, the projector just got unplugged. Well, it looks like the cable got repositioned, so I'm gonna end up repositioning myself. Maybe. Oh, there's some funky duct tape. Look at the crowd in here. It's looks like all the way back to the entrance. Just this open area here. I think people are leaving that open in order to accommodate the press and some of the campaign workers. There's an outlet right behind you if you need to plug in and get some juice. Cutie alert! I see some cuteness.
Answer your phone, Jamie. Backing up for some people to go by me. If there's a Q&A, a specific Q&A session, then what I can do is if you put questions into the chat, I'll read it. Oh, they're opening up the garage door. Oh, get some natural cloudy light in here. Hurry up and wait. So Radio Iowa is recording this, plus the other TV reporters. I don't know if Iowa Public Radio will be here or not. But unlike the rest of them, I just keep it going. I don't shut it off. I don't interrupt unless I have to. Well, people are shooting pictures of the crowd here. Yeah. Looks like all 3 TV stations are here. In my stream titles, then I actually put the hashtag GUI on it. People are still coming in, it looks like.
We could probably Photoshop that together. Oh yeah. I don't know if even funnier is we got with Bitter Pittsburgh and like crowding off and just put it behind all the Republicans that they're speaking. Every single one. All 20 of them. Could you slide it to the side?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
No, we don't think that down the court and then small. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, especially since
She's like 95% tile, then her 3 hours is like 30% tile growth. So.
Tell me to move.
Anyone ever tell you you're cute?
Yeah.
She's almost 5.
Oh, my great niece is 4, and she's that tall.
Yes. That's super, isn't it? This is a super occasion to be 4 at.
Yeah.
You remember all?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to save them, send them myself, put them on the computer screen.
Unfortunately, I don't get to spend a lot of time with my great niece or her new cousin, my great nephew.
What are you doing today?
Well, I'm the grandmother of 7, and most of them I had 4 in Canada and 2 in
Yeah.
Louisiana, and I
Spread all over.
My grandchildren starved.
That's when you got the internet, so you can see
right.
pictures, or
That's right.
maybe get them to use Skype or something like that.
Yeah. Stay in touch as much as I can.
Yep.
Wish I could have
I might actually take up my original spot over here. Yep, I think this will be good. for those just joining me, this is Occupier Kaylin coming to you live from the new O'Malley campaign office. He is the newest Democrat to announce that he's running for president alongside Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. And there are people here who will want to ask him questions about various things, such as their stance on for-profit prisons, especially the immigration detention facilities, or whether they take contributions from any entity associated with those, or military industrial complex, their stance on that, or whether they take contributions from any entity associated with that. Budget buster. So that's what will be going on here. There are activist groups that are here, members of Iowa Citizens for Community Improvement and others, American Friends Service Committee. And other groups that are trying to retake our democracy, get corporate and 1% money out of politics and give it back to the people, so that we will have a real choice of who we can vote for and candidates who will actually carry through on what they say to the people instead of just give it lip service and then go for the corruption later, like what we got going on now. So hopefully as a result of this, we can get different people running the show who actually work for us instead of for the rich benefactors and the corporations. As Bernie Sanders said earlier, there needs to be a constitutional amendment to get corporate money out of politics and give it back to the people. That would also go for the McCutcheon decision, which basically is Citizens United on steroids. And he opposes the TPP and anything associated with it because it is a sellout. And that would be interesting to see what O'Malley thinks about for TPP and other things like that. We are waiting for him to show up. I am in Des Moines, Iowa, in an office that is in a business park that is south of the downtown area. Earlier today, I was in Ames at a bar where Bernie Sanders was. That place is packed like whales in a sardine can. But here there's not quite, well, it might get to the same size crowd as there was in that bar. But that place is so hot, and the windows open here. They opened up the garage door for what would be a loading dock where trucks can back up to load and unload stuff from this building. Well, that is allowing fresh air to come in. Or it would be fresh air if there wasn't all the pollution in it and all the allergens floating around. But that is helping to keep it cool in here. People are backed up all the way to the public entrance of this building, plus along this wall. There are TV cameras over there, got other photographers in their spot. So we're just waiting for O'Malley to come out. And, give a little speech and take questions, or however he's going to do it. So Heaven over there is already working the crowd, telling people about what she wants to do when it's her time to run for president. Even though she just enrolled in college, she already has a paid internship, which will be good not only for her to earn some extra money to help pay for her living expenses while she attends her classes. It will be good work experience for her so she can learn more about the political process. And maybe if she sees something that she doesn't like, she can figure out ways to change it when it's her turn. I suppose I probably could have waited to go live, but I wasn't sure what the format of this would be, so when I got in here I decided to go ahead and hit the button. People are holding some of the O'Malley signs like the ones that are here on the wall. They have stickers. I'm not taking any of that because I'm not wanting to associate with any one particular campaign. I'm just wanting to document what goes on and see if these politicians can get asked some questions that will really make them think. As you can see, there's quite a bit of camera action going on here. TV cameras from all three of the mainstream channels, plus Radio Iowa, and photographers from different publications or blogs. And then there's me. As this campaign goes moves on, more national press may be coming here as a candidates continue to make their rounds around the country. For my international viewers, Iowa is specifically targeted for these kinds of things because in the process, we have the first primary or caucus. We have a caucus here, which is different than a primary, but because ours is the first to give the people a chance to vote for their particular candidate of either of the two parties. Unfortunately, we do not have caucuses for the minor parties like the Socialist Workers' Party or the Green Party. We don't have caucuses for them. Those candidates just run specifically targeting the general election, which happens in November of next year. And so sometimes if candidates don't have a good showing here in Iowa, that's it, one and done. And they back out in favor of the stronger ones, and then they decide if they want to support the remaining candidates of their party. Of course, both parties are owned anyway. But until we change that, so we can get the money out of politics, and perhaps maybe we can have a multi-party system, as Canada does, as UK does, as Spain does, and one of their new parties, Podemos, really kicked tail. And another of their new parties, Ciudadanos, also had a good showing, although they're not progressive like Podemos. But what Ciudadanos has done, along with Podemos, is show the ruling party that there will no more be business as usual. You are gone. And then on June 7th is the Mexican election. Mexico also has a multi-party system, but the PRI is in power, and Peña Nieto is selling out Mexico to the highest bidder. And so it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. And how well the other parties may fare in either knocking out the PRI or maybe trying to get a coalition with them. But their new party, Morena, has promise. I think that party has promise. But people just have to really stand up to all the violence and the drug cartels and the corruption there. I'm just doing a little chit-chat while I wait for O'Malley to come out. Almost 10 to 6, so I'm not sure how much longer we'll have to wait for him to come out. He has to come out since all the press has set themselves up. I see another tripod that's about to get placed. Another camera is here for on repositioning. Here's someone shooting some video. We're doing a panorama shot. We've got 4 cameras set up now. There's a Drake student journalist who has been shooting some things that I've been at. I don't know if she's here. I haven't seen her. She does for Drake Media. It's Drake University here in Des Moines. She wants to do what these other people with the big cameras are doing. Check my chat. Yeah, feel free to put anything into the chat. Post my donation sites. Or anything like that. Think about questions you might want to ask. And if this is being rebroadcasted over a Restream channel, have their get the questions from those viewers and then pass them to me, then I can read them off of my screen to O'Malley and try to get an answer if that's what you want to do. I don't want this to be one-sided. I want this to be a two-way street.
That's an experience, right? That's a reality.
I wouldn't be surprised if some of these people who were in Ames for the Bernie Sanders event simply did what me and my 2 companions did, was go from there straight here. Looks like we're ready to kick this thing off, so and just turn his recorder on. Just giving you another look at this packed house. Waiting for the newest candidate for President O'Malley to come out here. He is unknown to me, but now that he is announced, we all can start to get to know him, get a feel for what his politics are, what his views on certain things are, and maybe find out whether or not he is owned. That guy just picked up his tripod and did a little pan around, show the packed room. Oh, here he comes, applaud in the back. He's coming through the back. He's coming through all the people. Showing y'all welcome to Iowa. And here he is.
Forward, not back. Thank you. Good to see you.
Nope, here he is. Oops, I had it wrong.
I shall.
This is O'Malley coming up now. The other guy must be a campaign manager.
Okay. All right. Take your time. And what do you say? Okay. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming to welcome the governor.
Mic on.
They're not. You just have to shout. I'll shout. Thank you for coming to welcome the governor to Iowa and to Des Moines. This is an historic day. It's a great day. You may have seen the governor this morning made his announcement in Baltimore. It was a beautiful, beautiful sunny day, and he didn't even got on a plane to come to rainy, cold Iowa. Here he is. The governor has asked me to acknowledge just a couple of dignitaries before he speaks. So we'll bring to your attention Scott Orth, who's a representative. Hey, Scott! Amy Fitzgerald, county auditor. Scott Brennan, who's a former party chair for Iowa. Eddie Matson, former vice chair. Norm Sturzenbach, who is a former executive director. Dale Hanneman, county chair from Greene County.
I don't know if all of these people are here.
Chair, Tim Tracy, Carroll County chair, and Tom Henderson, who's Polk County chair. Let me just make a few comments to introduce the governor. The governor has been to Iowa many, many times. He's known Iowa. He's been coming here for 30 years. as you can understand how important Iowa is in his campaign, this is his first stop out of Baltimore, except for Davenport. Here he is in Des Moines. This is a time, a historic time. We can remember, here it is, on May 30th of 2015, this is the first day of the great enterprise of the presidency of Martin O'Malley. Yay! We've heard the governor talk about all the challenges that we have in the United States and in the world. Great challenges. This is a time for new leadership. This is a time for leadership with a new set of skills and a new vision. This is not a time for leadership thinking about the past. Think of all the critical challenges that we have before us today and the vision that is required. The governor has talked about his vision of unification. He talks about us and we, not the hyper-political partisanship and political rancor that characterizes our national political life today. But think about the challenges he'll talk about in just a moment. Middle class, infrastructure, immigration, cities, education, healthcare, not to mention the Middle East, Russia, Korea, the economic challenge of China, all these challenges we have. And think of the gridlock that is in Congress right now. I ask you just for a moment, I'll just take a moment, ask you to think about all the 20 or 22 Republicans who have announced or given notice. Think of one who could unify this country to address the problems that we have. Now think about the Democrats who have announced. I won't mention any names. Is there anybody who isn't polarizing, who could, that as Martin O'Malley could do, could unify this country? There is nobody. The governor has the vision, the governor has the stature, he has the experience. He's been here many, many times. He understands the importance of the Iowa caucuses and how seriously we Democrats take it. He also understands that the Iowa Democratic caucuses have a tradition of deflating the expectations of those who are inevitable with piles of money. So I leave you with that, and it's my great honor to introduce Governor Martin O'Malley. Thank you.
So let me ask a question of Des Moines, Iowa. Are you ready to move our country forward? Are you ready to take on the challenges of our times? Do you believe we need new leadership? Do you believe that there is no problem greater than our capacity as a people to overcome it? Well, if you answered yes to all of those questions, then I'm glad to tell you that today I'm a candidate for President of the United States. And I thank you. We're kind of set up for a press conference in a way, and I know there's a lot of people here, so bear with me, and then I guess we'll do questions here. But let me ask you a question right off the bat, show of hands. How many of you believe very firmly that you've enjoyed a better quality of life than your parents and grandparents enjoyed? Raise your hands. How many of you, second question, believe just as firmly that you'll enjoy a better quality of, that your children and grandchildren will enjoy a better quality of life than you've enjoyed?
No.
And that, my friends, is the central question on the table of democracy that we share. Because there is a growing gap of injustice in our country today. And that gap is the gap between the strong nation and the just nation that our children and grandchildren need for us to be, and the country we're in danger of becoming. We need to change our economics. We need to transform our politics. And we need to return to our true selves in order to make our children winners in this changing economy. And this is not rocket science. These are things we already know how to do. Let me explain. When I was elected governor of Maryland, and I am the only candidate in this race with 15 years of executive experience. We decided to practice the middle out and the middle up economics that our parents and grandparents practiced that actually built up our country. We understood that the economy is not money. The economy is people. And we put people in the center of every decision that we made. So we became the first state to pass a living wage. We raised the minimum wage. We made it easier for people to collectively bargain for better pay. And instead of doing less for education and less for our kids and less to make, we actually did more. And we made our schools the best public schools in America 5 years in a row. We went 4 years in a row without a penny's increase to college tuition. So we made college more affordable for more people, and we invested more in infrastructure. We invested more in R&D and the things that actually create the new jobs of the new economy. And along the way, not only did we practice the economics of greater inclusion, we also practiced the politics of greater inclusion. And that meant doing a number of things differently than what some of those Republican governors were doing, practicing the politics of exclusion and the politics of economic exclusion. Instead, we passed the DREAM Act, we passed marriage equality, and we made it easier for people to vote. The challenge before us today is to do the things that actually make the American dream real and true for all families. We have done some terrific things as a party to save our country from a second Great Depression. President Obama made the tough choices, and our country's doing better than it was. But the hard truth of our times is this. 70% of us are actually earning less today, the same or less today, than we were 12 years ago. And that, my friends, is the first time that that has happened this side of World War II. We need to change that. We need to build an economy that works for all of us again. My parents were part of that generation born to the Depression, and then my dad was part of that generation that won the Second World War. He flew 33 missions over Japan in a B-24 Liberator, and he went to college only because of a far-seeing and generous country that sent him to college on the GI Bill. And my mom, by the way, at the age of 17, flew in the Civil Air Patrol in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and protected Indiana's coastline from German U-boat incursions. But the point of this little story is this. They raised the six of us to understand something really important about our country. They would never have accepted the title for themselves of the greatest generation, because they told us the greatness of our country is that every generation has the ability and the responsibility to be great. And so too do we. So together, look, we need to do the things that actually work to make wages rise again. Republicans and Democrats in years past always would raise the minimum wage so it stayed above the poverty line, and we need to practice that same economic inclusion. Do we need to raise the minimum wage? We need to pay overtime pay for overtime work, and we need to make it easier for people to join labor unions. We need to invest more in our children's education. We need to make college more affordable instead of saddling our kids with a lifetime of debt. And we need to do a couple of other things as well. Look, for 70 years, we were able to protect our common good and our national economy from excesses and risky speculation on Wall Street. We learned the lesson the hard way, and for 70 years, we managed to protect our economy. But then, somehow along the way, we repealed Glass-Steagall, and the commercial banks and the investment banks, with all of us standing ready to bail them out, not that anybody asked us ahead of time, they wrecked our economy. They caused millions of people to lose their jobs and then to lose their homes. Tell me how it is in the United States of America that you can get pulled over for a broken taillight, but if you wreck the nation's economy, you are untouchable. And I don't think it's too much for the American people to expect that their federal government will step up, will prosecute cheats, will reinstate Glass-Steagall, and if a bank is too big to fail without wrecking our national economy, then it's too damn big and it needs to be broken up before it breaks up again. Recently, some of you, before I was governor, I served as mayor of Baltimore. And I was elected in 1999. And in that year, we had become the most violent city in America. We brought people together and we made our city a safer and better place. So you can only imagine, after some record reductions in violent crime, how heartbreaking it was as all of you watched on your television sets as the rage erupted in our city and some of our hardest hit and humblest neighborhoods. There is something to be learned from that night, and I believe something to be offered to our country from those flames. And it is this, and it is not limited to cities. Evidence the large numbers of young white kids who are killing themselves in despair with heroin in the suburbs and towns all across America. We have created an economy that is upside down and backwards, that tells half of our citizens that they are quite literally worth less today than they were 12 years ago and will be worth less still going into the future. We have told whole swaths of our population, especially concentrated in America's cities, that they are unneeded, that they are unheard, and that they are unnecessary. And the unemployment in our bones erupts in our hands and stones. In other words, we have created conditions of extreme poverty that create conditions of extreme violence. When a country reaches a point where we have concentrated wealth and power in the hands of so very few that is sucking opportunity out of the homes of the many, there are only two paths for us. One is a sensible rebalancing for our common good, and the other is pitchforks. This is not how our economy is supposed to work. This is not how our country is supposed to work. We are better than this, and we must do better. We must make the American dream live and true again in our country for all Americans. No one's going to do this for us. And the great news is, as Americans, as architects of our own future, and that's what we are, we can make the better choices to create that future. We can help 11 million of our neighbors come out of the shadows and be a full part of this enterprise by passing comprehensive immigration reform. We can not only launch a new agenda to make American cities places of hope and opportunity, we can step up to the challenge of climate change, embrace it as a business opportunity, and create an American jobs agenda for the climate challenge. And so friends, it comes down to this. I know we're going to open it up to questions and answers because this is Iowa. Right? Last time I was here, people started chanting in the back, Q&A, Q&A. So look, by golly, if you have answers, we want to hear those first, because none of us has all the answers.
If you
not one party,
have any
not any
questions you
ideology.
would like me
We're all in this
to
together.
ask, then post
we
it
need
into
to
the
figure
chat.
this
I have
out
my
together.
chat on.
Because in the final analysis,
So go ahead and
it's not about the big
get your
banks.
questions ready.
It's not even about big money trying to buy our elections. It's about us. And it's about whether or not we still have the will to be great Americans through our actions, through our compassion, through our generosity, through our caring for one another. It's okay to care. Actually, it's what made us the land of opportunity. I need your help. We have a tough road ahead of us, but I am absolutely convinced if we speak over the horizon to the compassion and the generosity in the hearts of the next generation of Americans, if we act like Americans again, if we return to our true selves, our best days are not going to be found in a history book, because you and I together are going to write them. Thanks very, very much. We're going to do some Q&A? Yeah? Good. All right, who wants to go first? Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Governor O'Malley, I would like to thank you for spending your announcement day in Iowa where you should be.
Thank you for spending it with me.
My name is Yvonne Hogan, and I'm a teacher in one of the suburban schools. And I'd like to know what your plan is for making sure that every single kid in this country goes to an A-plus school, regardless what their zip code is, regardless of where they're at.
Thank you. My question in the back was about education. There are a few basic things that we've done well as Americans for many years, and one of them that we need to return to is making sure that every generation is educated at higher and better levels. In our state, when I was governor, we invested more. I mean, we believe we get what we pay for. But I'll tell you, something we did that was different than what some other governors do, who try to treat teachers' unions like they're the enemy. We engaged with our teachers, and we used to do a questionnaire, a poll, literally, every other year about learning conditions in the classroom, about what was working, about what training was needed in order to implement the new curricula. And so we also created an ability to track every student's progress, and we're starting to move, and I think we need to do this as a nation as well. There's a really exciting convergence coming together between what we've learned about how each of us learns individually and the ability of technology to pattern lessons to students so that they can learn in the way that's optimal for their individual sort of natural wiring. Having said that, these things aren't going to float in here on a breeze. We need to invest in it. And so I believe that as a nation we need to invest more in education and not less. I would like to see the federal government take a greater role in the educational mission. I believe that we do need to constantly increase our curriculum. And I also believe that we could gain a whole lot as a nation, as an economy. We could boost high school graduation rates greatly if we were to redesign that 12th year, that senior year of high school, and infuse our public education with more modern career and technical education. So when kids graduate, they not only have a diploma that means something, but they also have a certificate or a skill for a job immediately after high school. And ideally, we need to find better ways, as many states are starting to do, so kids can earn college credit before they even head out of high school. So in a nutshell, those are some of my thoughts, and I look forward to, this is day one of the campaign. We'll be rolling out more policy as we move forward. Yes, sir, and I'll try to be shorter so we get more questions in, or answers.
Okay, I'm going to tape this, please. For you.
You're taping it?
Yeah.
Do you not believe me?
My name is James Marin. I'm here with the League of Conservation Voters. In Iowa, we have, and across the nation, we have a lot of issues with the environment. Here in Iowa, the renewable fuel standard, Obama's lowering that. The production tax credit, which helps build wind farms, is going to probably be gone. Des Moines Water Works has broken their record for the number of days they have run their nitrate removal system, and we're not even halfway through the year. We've got an oil company that's trying to use eminent domain to bury a pipeline here in the farmers' land. So, I don't know, take one of those and talk about it with you.
Which one of them?
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
We live in times of blessed unrest, especially when it comes to our environment and the other living systems. Look, if we look at climate change and these environmental challenges as things that are happening to us, it's easy to fall into kind of a defenseless victim mentality. If instead we look at these things as things that are happening for us, then we accelerate certain new technologies. You guys have been leaders in the nation. I mean, look at your wind industry that you've created here. It wasn't here 15 years ago. It's here now, and it's making a really big difference. It's employing people. I think, what is your wind's now, 30% of your energy mix? We learned a little bit about water and our streams. And look, we all need clean water. It's a human right, and it's not a right we can take from the next generation. And so we learned ways, and our farmers led the way, actually, to reduce nitrogen, phosphorus, and sedimentary flow through in the implementation of best practices. We applied performance measurement metrics with GIS, put it online so everybody could see whether we were hitting our goals in expanding cover crops or stream buffers, or upgrading our sewage treatment plants to the highest and best technology. And all of that is measurable. This is not a matter of guessing or hoping. It's a matter of doing. And so I think we need to look at the challenge here as a business opportunity. We can create green jobs, we can create cleaner technologies, and we can actually bring people together to make our streams better, to make our air cleaner. And in fact, we must. I mean, what's the other option? What's the other option? We must, and we will. Yes, ma'am.
Governor O'Malley, when you're elected president, on Inauguration Day, after you're inaugurated, who are the first 3 people who you call?
Who are the first 3 people that I call? My mom.
Your wife's going to know already.
What, pardon me?
Your wife's going to know already, right?
Yeah, my wife will have been there. Who are the first 3 people that I call? I would probably. That's a very good question.
I think she stumped him.
Who are the first 3 people that
Barack Obama.
Republican challenger.
Yeah, I would probably call some national security folks right away. Rather than who I would call right after my mom. Yes, sir.
Hi. So many immigrant detention centers are owned by for-profit prisons, and these prisons are. I got my question right here. So many immigrant detention centers are also owned by for-profit prisons who lobby extensively to detain more immigrants, like the 34,000 daily detention bed quota. What will you do to get those who profit from immigrant detention out of the public policy making process?
Yeah, question in the back was about for-profit prisons, and especially now the emergence of for-profit prisons when it comes to detaining immigrants at our border. I'm not a fan of for-profit prisons. We never had any of them in Maryland, and in fact, in my first 50-some days as governor, we closed down one of the largest, oldest, most dangerous prisons in our state, called the House of Corrections. And by the time I left office, we had driven our recidivism rate down to 15%. We had driven our incarcerated number down to a 20-year low, all while reducing crime to in some cases 35-year lows. So, but I do think that there's a dangerous intersection between profit and prisons, and I think we need to move away from that as a nation. Look, the enduring symbol of our country is not the barbed wire fence. It is the Statue of Liberty, and we need to act like it. Yes, sir.
Could you talk more about your stance on the renewable fuel standard?
Sure. I mean, look, I think, and you can check out my record. During my time in office, we were always pushing the envelope of renewable standards in an upward direction. I mean, it's important to have goals you can achieve, but when you see you can achieve them, given the urgency of the climate challenge, we should be pushing that envelope, not retreating from it. And it would be my hope that we continue to keep a high renewable fuel standard and that we actually move into cellulosic fuels. And the best way to do that is to keep the standard high. When you lower it, it creates all sorts of uncertainty about policy and direction. If you keep it high, then people will see where they can make dollars by advancing the technology. That's my take on it. Yes, sir.
I just got back from EntreFest in Iowa City last week. It's a festival for entrepreneurs. What do you think the government's role is in helping small businesses, helping reduce risk for people who want to follow their dreams and build companies?
Yeah. Multifaceted. The question was about entrepreneurs and innovation. The most important thing we need to do is we need to restore demand in our economy. In other words, for many years, before we went down this road of trickle-down economics, and by the way, all the Republican candidates are doubling down on trickle-down economics. I mean, it's like the greatest hits of the 80s and 90s over there on their side. In our country, voodoo economics. So in our country, there had long been a virtuous cycle, if you will, between the innovation, the new ideas, entrepreneurs, and the demand for the products and the services that they're creating. But when you have a situation where people are earning less than they were 12 years ago, then that demand slackens, and that slows the innovation and the investment. And so that is fundamentally the most important thing we need to do as a nation, is get wages rising again. I mean, these other guys with their story of how trickle-down economic works, where you concentrate wealth and power in the hands of the few, it was a very convincing story for a while, but we see what happens with that. And when you look at startups and you look at the trends, a lot of exciting things going on, but it's actually kind of a downward trend. It's not an upward trend. We made our state, this is good, I love this one. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which is hardly ever says nice things about Democratic governors anywhere, named our state the #1 state for innovation and entrepreneurship. And they did that for 3 years in a row. We did some things that were that I think were helpful. We made greater investments in our competitive strengths: life science, biotech, cybersecurity. We increased the R&D tax credit and investor tax credits on all of those. We would convene in competitions, our entrepreneur communities, and have kind of the cash prizes. They weren't huge, but for a startup it was good. And it was our way of bringing in venture capital and getting that up in the mix. It's a bit of an ecosystem, you know. Every state's a little different, but for our country overall, I think that the most important thing we can do is get the demand going again. If we have strong demand, then that will be good for entrepreneurs. And in the meantime, partner more with states that are doing things like the incubators and the accelerators and those sorts of things. Yes, ma'am.
To extend the first question about providing quality public education for all children, what would you do to ensure access to mental health services in rural Iowa and rural America so that all children and families, regardless of the zip code, are ready to do well in school and ready to move on to become successful citizens of our communities?
Can I just add a little something to that? That also applies to the veterans with PTSD and TBI. There are not enough beds to treat these guys. They're homeless, they're committing suicide. They need it as much as everybody needs it. as well as you know, the whole, my point was, you know, it's important for veterans too to have the option of the increase in treatment.
Safe to say, mental health overall is an aspect of our healthcare system in great need of improvement.
Thank you, Mr.
And greater access. So look, point taken, and let's stay in touch as we figure that out together.
Do we have one last question for the governor?
Governor.
Yes, sir.
Of our nation's bridges and infrastructure and roads seem to be crumbling. Here in Iowa, we recently raised the gas tax to help that out. Do you favor a bigger role for the federal government to improve our infrastructure, which would provide more jobs for more people to get things better?
Yeah, I sure do. The question was about infrastructure. The Chinese and the Indians are not going to invest to improve our infrastructure. We have to do that ourselves. And actually, it's an underreported but kind of a bipartisan story in this time of division and polarization that many states, including my own state, have raised their gas tax, however unpleasant and unpopular that was. Although since we did it, the price of gas went down 75 cents. I don't know if there's a cause in any of that. But it also allowed us to create 57,000 new jobs in our state. The federal government needs to step up to the plate as well, because our transportation trust fund is about to go dry because it hasn't been updated in years and years and years. So part of what it's going to take to make our economy go and our economy grow, again, is we need to invest in infrastructure. Clean water infrastructure, transportation infrastructure. There's some exciting new technologies being developed, like the Hyperloop, that has promise to build a new generation that might even leapfrog our railroads. So it's absolutely part of what makes our economy go, and I'm very much in favor of greater federal investments in our infrastructure. Let's do this, gang. If we do, we're going to call this the lightning round. If you do your questions in 30 seconds, I will match your 30-second questions. Or I will tell you I don't know, and we'll cede 20 seconds to the next questioner. Yes, ma'am.
Heather Ryan, I'm a veteran of the United States Navy.
Thank you for your service.
As you know, we have 30 seconds, no clapping.
Heather, the clapping does not come out of your mouth.
As you know, veterans are unemployed at a higher rate as a non-veteran. So that question, my question is your campaign hiring? Because you're awesome.
Hey, thank you. We could. That's Brad. And Jake's around here someplace too. I thought you were going to ask a different question.
No,
you know what we need to do?
Veteran services and veterans are being played against each other. Veterans, I was Persian Gulf, and now we don't get any services because I'm not Afghanistan. So it's just one of those things where, you know, the veterans are being played against other veterans.
There's one really important, simple thing that we could do to help our veterans and connect them to services they need when they come home, and we need them to be, you know, fully engaged and included in this civilian theater. If we insisted that veterans give us an email to contact them. It sounds simple, but we don't do it. And we're piloting a couple of states, I'm told. I hope my state's still one of those pilots. But there are services available, but we do a bad job of connecting them. Yes, ma'am. Standing.
Many times we have problems with transportation and getting hired as blind and disabled persons. How do you feel about implementing the ADA worldwide, like Senator Harkin wants to do? And how do you feel about blind people getting into a car and driving finally with the way the law is written? We've got issues with transportation and other things that could be solved pretty easily if those issues were looked into, where we can have those cars that we can...
Self-driving cars?
Self-driving cars, yes, self-driving cars. And I just wanted to know what your feelings were about that and why hasn't it been implemented sooner?
Okay. One of the greatest impediments to economic independence is the lack of transportation.
Yay.
And so I understand that. And I also love your former senior senator. I think Tom Harkin did great.
Sorry about that. I just took a drink from my bottle and put it back down on the floor.
And I'd be totally fine with ADA worldwide. Yes, ma'am. We're going to keep it to 30 seconds. We're going to do 5 more. Yes.
What are you going to do about human trafficking of children, as it's in all 50 states and not talked about very frequently?
Yeah, we did some very successful things on that. We had a good U.S. attorney who stepped up and led efforts. It is something that requires greater training and awareness across a lot of different agencies, not just law enforcement, but juvenile services. And we put things and protocols in place in Maryland. I'd love to share with you online, or maybe if I get a card from you afterwards. We did really good things on this, and like so many things in this world, it's about connecting what we already know. If we only knew what we already knew. Yes, sir.
Yes, you're in the Oval Office. What is your plan to work with Congress?
I'm in the Oval Office. My plan to work with Congress is to call them and talk to them all the time, and that's what I plan to do. But there were a number of things that we got done in Maryland, and it was there were a number of things that we got done in Maryland that we only would have gotten done if a couple of Republican votes had voted for things. I mean, marriage equality, I think, was one of them. Repealing the death penalty was another. There's no way around it. An executive needs to be engaged. You need to engage with the members of the legislature socially. You need to try to have an understanding of them, of where they come from, their spouses' names, their kids, and all of those things, and that's how I've worked. Yes?
First of all, I'm Heaven. We've met like 4 times.
Hello
Good to
again.
see you again. What are your opinions on public financing for campaigns?
Public financing of campaigns. I'm very much in favor of public financing of campaigns. There's a bill in Congress right now that would match dollar contributions on a ratio that would give citizens greater ownership of their government. Look, we can't change our economy if we don't have the will to retake control of our own American government. And big money is the only one that's benefiting from the dysfunction right now. Yes, sir.
You talked about reinvesting in infrastructure. We've got record debt, most of which came in the last 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, the record debt comes from doing things that you're not willing to pay for, like invading Iraq in 2003.
Most of the debt, over 50% of that, came in the last 6 or 7 years.
Right. I understand the call of your question. In our state, I maintained a AAA bond rating all the way through. I made $9 billion in cuts, which was more than any governor in our state had ever had to do. But we also found the will to make the case to the people. If we wanted to make our schools better, we had to be willing to pay for that, and we did. If we wanted to make college more affordable for more people, then we had to be willing to pay for that, and we did. If we wanted to rebuild our roads and our highways and protect the waters of the Chesapeake Bay, then we had to be willing to do that, and we did. It wasn't always, the individual decisions weren't always popular, but we achieved the highest median income in the country, and we maintained it for 8 years, all the way through that time, and we exceeded the rate of job creation of our neighbors north and south. So we've got to pay for the things that we want to do, and we have to be willing to talk about that and reach a consensus about doing it as Americans. Yes, sir.
What do you think of Republican Larry Hogan as your successor as Maryland governor?
He wasn't my first choice. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
John McCain and the Wall Street Journal called for 10,000 ground troops to fight ISIL. Do you support that?
I think that there are a lot of lessons that we have yet to learn from our extended engagement over there. In fact, I visited your troops with your former governor, with Chet Culver, in Iraq. Oftentimes, what we should learn is that putting boots on the ground can, and in that region, will have the opposite effect that we might intend. And I think we need to work with regional partners. I think we need to confront the evil of ISIS, but I think we need to do that in collaboration with others. In fact, going over my 30 seconds for just a couple seconds, we need a new foreign policy and a new national security strategy. Our new foreign policy must be much more collaborative and engaged before the only options left to us are military, and our national security strategy needs to put at its center threat reductions. There are multiple threats. They change all the time. Sometimes they evolve very quickly, and we should not be in a position of catching up and chasing after the train. We need to become much more proactive and engaged in threat reduction before it comes to the level where we have to have debates about military interventions. Last one, maybe. Yes, sir.
Governor, can you tell us your vision to construct and apply a viable immigration policy other than just build a big fence?
Yeah, I think look, part of what it's going to take to get wages to go up again is to get our 11 million neighbors out of the shadows and part of an open economy. Having an underground economy, having an underground economy is a drag on wages. So immigration reform, I believe as Democrats, we need to talk about immigration reform as a national economic priority because it will help us get our wages going in the right direction again. And in the same sense that we need to talk about climate change as a national economic opportunity and renewable energy as an opportunity. I mean, and how we get it done, every campaign is an opportunity for a new conversation. And that's probably what I'll leave you with as we switch to kind of one-on-one conversations. Look, I have been all over our country over the course of the last year. And as I talk especially to younger people and the next generation of Americans, I rarely ever meet a climate denier. I hardly ever meet young people that are opposed to marriage equality. And I never run into young people who are scapegoating new Americans for what we haven't figured out how to do for ourselves again as a country. So this is where we're headed. I know that when you look at your cable news, I know that when you look at the division in our politics and the concentration of wealth and power, I know that you can become very discouraged about the future. But I have talked to young people all over our country, and I am absolutely convinced that our best days are in front of us. We need to speak to where our country's going, not to where it's been. And where our country's going is a much more generous, connected, forward-acting, forward-looking place that understands that we are best in this world and we're best at home when we realize that we have to put our people first. We have to put our country first. An economy isn't money, it's people. And when we make ourselves strong at home, we can lead this world. We inspire this world, and we give our kids that better future that you and I both want to be able to give to them. So look, thank you all for being here. I need your help.
I'm just going to mill around and capture conversations for a little while. Still holding its 60-some% juice, so I'm good for a while.
And we're going to be doing
People are just going to be talking to each other, just kind of milling around.
Here, I'm gonna. Finn better help me. Okay, so I'm gonna. Okay, Finn. Sorry.
We're gonna have
What? This is LC. Yes. We'll make sure that the governor comes over and talks to you too, okay? So you guys can sit down if you want or whatever, but we'll make sure.
Just gave you another look at the crowd in this room.
Just say, are you going to talk to the governor?
There's a cord under your left foot.
Yep, it's mine. Thank you.
Rolling along.
Would you move your feet, please?
It's all right.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I do put a lot of them up on YouTube. So, Kaylin Strain on YouTube is where they go. But I do it when I get home. This is going up to Ustream. And then when I get home, then I get on my channel page and I tell Ustream to send it up to YouTube. So that's how I save them, because I have a free Ustream account and they only keep my stuff up for a month before it gets dropped off. So I'm paying enough for my data plan. So by putting them up on YouTube, then they are available for however long the channel is up, you know. So that's pretty much how I do it. Yep, that's what I'll be doing when I get out of here. I'm gonna.
That's yours.
Can I come through here too?
I was just explaining how I use YouTube to archive my videos beyond what Ustream does for 1 month, since I have a free account. They only stay up on the Ustream server for a month before they're dropped off. And so that's when I put them up on YouTube. And so when I get home, I will send these up, the one I did of the Bernie Sanders event, and then this one I'll put up on YouTube, and that way they'll be preserved for later viewing, but for at least for a month they'll be on my Ustream channel for those who are not able to watch now, or for rebroadcasters who need some filler content. They can just grab it off my channel page and rerun it if they want. And speaking of restream channels, I want to give a shout out to any restream channels who picked up my feed and rebroadcasted it today, whether it be Global Occupied News Network, Activist World News Now, or any of the others that do it. I give a shout out to them. They do good stuff. I want to do that at home, but I need to get a better computer. I'm running off of an 8-year-old box now that doesn't have the power to keep a stable broadcast. I try it, but I can only put up one thing at a time, and it just bogs my system down. And then I have to stop it. Or I have a crash.
You got an O'Malley?
You did. Yes. Thank you.
There you are.
And so I need a better computer, and that takes some bucks. So that'll be one of my next things to try to get is a new computer. This guy is two-fisting it.
We discussed the issue of Palestine initiative, which hasn't been addressed by anybody.
Bernie Sanders definitely did not.
He did not. No.
No, I was there. I went to Ames and covered that one. Yeah.
Good. Hey, good. You got, hey, good to see you. Hey, ¿qué tal? ¿Qué haces ahora?
Soy grassroots engagement coordinator.
Good. Oh, that's a great campaign. Good.
This guy talked to Jordan knows a little Espanol. That's good.
Thanks for asking.
Then I asked him a follow-up question. It's kind of a question, but more just informing him. We're also talking about with immigration reform. If that's what you're trying to do, that's not going to happen unless you do something about this private prison.
The military-industrial complex also has to be dealt with because that's the biggest chunk of the budget, and if you knock that down, we can kick the poverty problem in the dupa.
Yes. Definitely we could. Yeah, and we need to take care of the for-profit prisons because they're driving up the detention rate, imprisonment. 34,000 beds have to be filled.
Yep.
And when they're not, they complain to the government. The ICE pick up more people.
Yeah, and I bet I wouldn't be surprised if some of those people in those places are natural-born citizens who just happen to be undocumented. And that does exist. There are people in this country who may be fourth, fifth, or sixth generation Americans, but who do not have anything to prove that they were born in this country. Yeah. Or they had their citizenship taken away because their name matches an illegal,
And became a citizen overnight. Just applied. But that's what our immigration laws were like back in the early part of the 20th century. And they've become so restrictive now that people can't come here legally. It's very difficult.
I saw the submission date where it's 20 years for some cases.
By then, someone could be old or too sick to come.
Of course, you can't wait for that long to be separated from your family either. So we got to be more compassionate than we are. Definitely.
Did you happen to hear about we're doing a thing on June 10th at the friend's house? It's called Potluck Politics.
Issue is?
Yeah, it's with the governing under the influence.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Yes,
The governing under the influence, #GUI. If you search that on Facebook or Twitter.
He's working with us now.
More so on Twitter, but that will be an easy way to find out what the governing under the influence project is doing around the country.
Okay, that'd be great. Just as a reminder.
Yeah, trying to ask all the candidates very important questions that they're not addressing.
We were at the Bernie Sanders event earlier.
Oh, were you?
That was packed and overflowing.
Really hot. Was it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, there was just no air circulation in that place.
Oh, so suffocated.
Yeah, and you're sweating like a dog.
Well, there's so many issues to be addressed. There are, but I think immigration is one. That for me is at the top. Another one is the Israeli-Palestinian situation. Really needs to be dealt with. Frankly, there's some criminal activity going on over there, and our government isn't paying attention.
We need more people like you to pay attention, to be aware.
And bring it up to the fore. We need to, definitely. So, well, this is a start. Good start. Are you ready to go?
Yep. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and take my stream down. I'm going to get out of here. And
okay, we'll see you. Take care. Good to see you.
Yep. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on